Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with today's guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsor. So stay with us for 3 minutes. These are all great companies. Listen to our shout outs, then go and visit these companies after our interview. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. You heard me say before that one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to their website, schedule a live web demo, sidelineinteractive.com. You're going to be very glad you did. We also want to say thanks to our friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years. As an AD, we were a Huddle school. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to say thanks to Snap Mobile, particularly Snap Raise. If you've ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results, well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school with great success, and so will you. It's snapraise.com. We also want to say thank you to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Go to their website and take a look at their interactive touchscreen video consoles. You put one of their units in your gym lobby or your main school hallway, it's going to be a magnet for kids, for coaches. How about sponsors and alumni? Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their products today. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team turn you into a social media marketing expert. Maybe it's just a social media post to celebrate a victory, or it could be an entire newsletter to showcase all the great things you're doing. The team at Gipper will have you up and running in no time. That's Gipper.com. We also want to say thanks to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. It's very affordable. It's just 20 months. And while you complete your master's, you also complete 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We also want to say thank you to Hometown. You know, Hometown's changing the game with their solutions that include digital ticketing, big surprise, but how about athletic website construction or fee-free fundraising? Go to hometown.com. They're going to help you save money, save time, and bring your community together. That's hometown.com. And we want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. If you have never used a survey to take the pulse of your student athletes, your coaches, even your parents, you're really missing out. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you connect with everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Check them out today, and don't forget to mention the podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going out to California today, and our guest is Toni West. Toni is an assistant principal at Moreau Catholic High School. It's in the Bay Area. She comes highly recommended by one of our podcast regulars, Joanna Butcher. So no pressure, Toni, but welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be on your podcast. I look forward to having a great conversation, and shout out to Joanna, one of the people that helped mentor me when I started coaching. So I appreciate being able to come on and share some ideas with you.
Oh, that's so cool. Thanks for mentioning that. You and I were talking about before we started recording that, you know, you have that connection with Joanne. I've got a very loose connection with Joanne from back in her, my early days as a teacher. But let's go and jump in. Let's talk about Toni. We always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us your background. As I like to say, tell us your life story in 2 minutes. Just take us up, maybe growing up through your own college experience. We're going to dive deeper in that, but what's the Toni West origin story?
Oh, it's pretty fascinating, actually. It's quite boring. I was a high school athlete from Milpitas. So I played at Milpitas High and was okay with stopping there. Ended up having a junior college coach approach me and go, "Do you want to continue playing?" And I was like, "Yeah." But luckily I did, and I played a little bit in college, and then I stopped playing due to injuries. Went into speech and communications on the debate team, so I stayed competitive, and then got called back from Milpitas High when I was ending my college academics to start coaching. So that started my lifelong dream of continuing athletics and coaching college. And now I get to work at a high school and I do a little bit of assistant principal, a little bit of being able to stay in athletics. And then I also work with the women's pro league. So, yeah, so I've been in athletics, but also want to help student athletes. And I think that's where the connection got back to Joanna as how we can help our student athletes prepare for longevity in the sport, but also for mental wellness. So thank you for having me.
Oh no, I love it. I just love to hear the stories. I want to go all the way back, even pre-middle school, growing up. What was it like? I assume there was a basketball hoop in the driveway. Were there, football games in the backyard? What was it like for you growing up?
Growing up, my mom happened to be a track athlete. So her dream was to get me in track. I absolutely hated running. So that wasn't going to happen. So she did everything in her power to find what was the connection between my love of doing something. So I did dancing, I did softball, um, I played almost every sport until I got into the basketball gym and I started with CYO um, very, very young and loved it and continued playing since, I mean, ooh, I probably started playing when I was in third grade. And it was just something that was always there. Whenever I was really, really happy, I would get my basketball and walk to the court. You know, everything used to be outside when we used to actually go to an outside court and play. If I was mad, if I was sad, a basketball was always there. So, yeah, that's how it started. But luckily, my mom was like, we're going to find what you love instead of forcing me to do something that she wanted me to do.
Well, again, you said she did her research. She found out, what you liked. All right, I got to ask this question. I didn't coach a lot of basketball in my day. I played back in high school, but I was a basketball official, among other things, for a number of years. And I did my time in the little kids' leagues and the CYOs and that sort of thing. From your perspective as a player, and I know we're going way back now, what are your memories of the parents and the fans? It's just regardless of where you go, it's parents are screaming, shoot, dribble, pass, play defense, get back. I mean, it's this cacophony of information. Do you remember hearing it at all? Was it a factor, or are you just out there bawling as a seventh and eighth grade CYO kid, or 7 and 8 year old CYO kid?
I was really lucky that basketball wasn't my mom's sport. So I didn't get it from my mother of you need to do this and you need to do that. But I did hear it from others. And then I was lucky enough to play a couple of years with my best friend. And her dad was invested in us in athletics.
That's a nice way of saying it. Yeah.
And so I did have an outside coach for a really long time. And then one of our longtime Milpitas High varsity boys coaches coached my team. So his name is Steve Kane. He is a legend in Milpitas, but I was lucky to be able to coach with him, and he was just very gentle and made you want to continue and love the sport. So even though I heard some of the stuff in the crowd, it was never directed toward me. So I was a little bit lucky on that part.
No, I was just curious, and that's appreciate you sharing those positive coaches that you had in your career. Let's go and move forward. Okay, you're in high school. Were you, the star of the team? Were you the scrappy substitute? What was your role as a student athlete basketball player?
Well, I hate to admit it, which is it's funny now that I'm an assistant principal at a high school. My freshman year, I was going to come in and be the next big thing. I had a great eighth grade year, very known for blocking shots, rebounds, tall, lanky. I'm 6 feet. I know you can't see me, but I'm 6 footer with really long arms. And my freshman year, I just came in and was relaxed and was like, ooh, basketball is everything. So my grades, ugh. So I actually didn't make the team my freshman year because of grades. And I remember the JV coach and the varsity coach really getting on me. And that really changing my mentality about academics and how important that is if you want to play and if you want to do all the other things that you want to do. So, yeah, the beginning of my high school career, sad story.
All right. So sophomore year and beyond, let's hear the Toni West story. Okay.
So, yeah, sophomore year ended up being great. It really did mess me up not playing my frosh year. So I ended up having to be on JV my sophomore year. I thought I should have been on varsity, but you know how that happens. Had an amazing year. Again, really known for running the floor, blocking shots, doing long passes out to my guard. I had an amazing guard that would take off whenever I got the rebound, so could softball it. And then junior and senior year had really good years. Wasn't the most focused athlete. So, when you talk about people that if you would just work really, really hard in your talent, you could be amazing. I think I was one of those. I didn't ever sleep, dream, think basketball. I kind of did all the things, and basketball was there. So I was lucky enough to have enough talent and to have my size and everything that I still got looked at from um, colleges, but I really wasn't focused on 4 years. So um, it's just luck, when you have a little angel that just guides you certain places, and it guided me to Foothill Junior College and under Gina Johnson, who as a coach ended up being a blessing through my college years and beyond. But yeah, in high school, I I had a I had an attitude. If you came into the
Ooh,
key and
imagine
I
that.
was there, yeah, I'm gonna block your shot. You're not just gonna get a layup on me. So that was my role.
No, I love it. Again, um, I uh, substitute taught for a couple of years right out of college, and my best friend from high school also became a teacher at a different school. But one day we both ended up at our high school where we graduated as substitutes. And at lunchtime, we walk in the old back in the old teachers' lounge, and here's all of our old coaches, all of our old teachers, and one of them turns around and goes, "You guys became teachers?" So I think sometimes those people with the attitudes they end up coming back. So let's go and take our first break. Our guest today is Toni West. We're going to hear more about her journey and a lot more than that. But let's take that break. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. Probably one of the best purchases that I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. We use it for home games, of course, but we also use it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. Their products are tremendously versatile and their customer service is just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Don't forget to mention the podcast. Set up that live web demo today. We also want to say thank you to our good friends at Huddle. As a head football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, all of our coaches, just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes loved the videos. Our parents loved the streaming, but there's a whole lot more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com.
Oh my gosh, I love Huddle. I actually used Huddle in college and in high school, but one of my favorite athletes I found through Huddle. Uh, Somebody sent me some clips of her, and I was just amazed and recruited her. And she was like, "When did you come and see me?" I was like, um, okay, I didn't see you live, but I saw your Huddle film. But yeah, it's great for not only recording, but getting stats and breaking down film and sending it out to players. So that's awesome that that's one of your sponsors.
Well, that's so kind of you to say. And we don't often hear about the college, the recruiting end. Certainly colleges are using Huddle and they have access to that. So thanks so much for sharing. Once again, our guest today is Toni West. She's an assistant principal, longtime coach as well. She's at Moreau Catholic High School in the Bay Area. Toni, you kind of took us up, through your high school experience, and that I think you'd just, been recruited, started your college career. Share a little bit about that part of your journey.
Yeah, played at a junior college that wasn't really well known. My coach was very young. She was about 25 when she recruited us, and we had a team. I believe we had 9 players on our team, and she did an amazing job with us. We ended up going to the playoffs that year, had a 20 win season, and then my last year had a 30 win season. But she was so good at making sure we stayed disciplined. I remember one time we were irritating her. I think we won like 10 games in a row. And we were just acting silly in practice and not taking it serious. And she was like, "Oh, okay, you guys think you're good now. You won 10 in a row. Fine, we'll cancel practice." And she walked out with all the assistant coaches and she walked out the gym. We were so deathly afraid to leave the gym. We thought it was a trap that we ran the practice without her. So it just goes to show you how good she was in setting structure and expectation, that we were able to run a really good practice without her, because we were like, oh, if somebody leaves, might be a sniper outside. So
Oh my goodness, I love it. I love those stories. All right, you're at a JUCO. Were you thinking, hey, I'm the next great thing. I'm going D1. Was that part of your plans, or what's the rest of your college story?
I was interested in getting a scholarship, but again, my mentality was still a little bit like, whatever happens, happens. Let me try some of this. Let me try some of that. So I really loved communications. I really loved being part of the speech department at Foothill College. And it was almost a surprise to me because I respected my teammates so much. And I had some really good teammates that went on and played at D1s and high D2s, that I was actually shocked when I was getting letters for recruitment. I, I was, I don't know, when you don't see yourself as other people see you. I think I was one of those athletes. So, yeah, I ended up um, going to a couple of places, but I wanted to stay local, and my mom wanted me to stay local. So I chose Hayward State, which is
Oh,
now Cal State East Bay. But I chose Hayward State under Mary Murphy, who really good coach and everything, and then was a longtime Stanford announcer for the women's basketball team. So
wow. I mean, I've spent some time in the San Jose area, back in the late 90s. So, I know those names that you're talking about. Um, as you are finishing your college days, both as a student and student athlete, um, were you waiting for just the next thing to come along, or was there a plan? For me, I'm playing small college football. I was on the track team. I see. I love track. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, and I knew I probably wasn't going to go NFL or go to the Olympics, but I'm thinking, I don't want to work for a living. You mean I can coach? I can teach PE. So I kind of got into my 41-year career, through laziness. But what were you thinking at that time?
I think at that time, I ended up, like I said, I was in basketball, but I was also in communications and loving that part of my journey. So when I stopped playing, I joined the debate team and ended up transferring. I stopped playing basketball and transferring to San Jose State University and joined their debate team. And I think it was just another way for me to continue to be competitive. I, of course, was forced to stop playing. I've dislocated both shoulders twice, so that's fun. But the last time they were like, you're going to have to get surgery and all that. And women's basketball, of course, is not where it is now. So, your family and friends are like, well, there's no need to continue playing. It's not like you're going to go pro. So I was like, okay, well, then I'll do this. So, yeah, my transition went into I needed something to still be competitive in. It was just that innate thing. And I found the debate team. It ended up being really good and getting tons of awards. And do you know that you could be on the team? It's almost like being an athlete. You get priority registration, you get you get meals, you get stipends when you leave. I was just like, okay, well, I'm living a life here.
All right. No, yeah, as absolutely. You're living the dream. All right. Now, I've done some public speaking, never did debate or anything like that, but I've got to, this is my thought, going back to, 20, 21, 22-year-old Toni West. Okay. 6 foot, articulate, let's be honest, very attractive. You're walking into that room. You're not the typical debater, I'm imagining. Was that an advantage, do you think?
It might have been actually, now that I think about it, I had a amazing coach. You'll notice I give props to a lot of different coaches and mentors. I think coaches don't get some of the credit they deserve for like fully developing young people. So yeah, I had an amazing speech coach that actually helped me. One of the events that I did was impromptu speaking, but after dinner speaking as well, which is when you go to an event, the person
Sure.
that actually speaks after dinner. And it's supposed to be somewhat informal, but also it needs to have some humor because people just got done eating and you don't want them sleeping on you. So she did a really good job of incorporating that. But she had me do one that talked about height and modeling and all that stuff. So it did play a part that I was very tall and all that, but I probably had a little bit of an intimidation factor when it came to parliamentary debate and everything. So, yeah, and a little bit of that attitude and being able to drop one-liners helped. So, yeah. And then, of course, anything with sports, when you're a competitor, you are a competitor. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, you take it to a whole different level when you walk into a place.
Yeah, that's right. Basketball, debate, board games, whatever. Yeah, we're winning this sucker. All right. I guess I'm gonna have to scour YouTube, see if there's any videos of young Toni West debating out there and just crushing the competition. Okay. Um, all right. You're near graduation. What are you thinking? I know you did some coaching, but was there a plan or did these things just happen, as we say?
Things just happen. Knowing people who knew people, I ended up working for um, really good tech companies. I'm in Silicon Valley. So, and I'm at San Jose State. So you end up working for Lockheed Martin, Intel, 3Com. Um, and it was when I was at Intel that Milpitas High called me because they were looking for a coach. So they were like, we need a JV coach, and your name came up. And we know you're local and all that stuff. But um, I think working in the tech environment helped build a wider lens of all the ways you need to organize and prepare and go into meetings and structure things. So when I got the call from Milpitas High to go back into coaching, I looked at everything totally different. And fun fact, my CYO coach was still the varsity boys coach. So I had the first practice, which was right after school, so 3:30. I would stay and watch every single practice after mine to take notes from all the coaches because, just wanted to know everything, soak up everything, ask questions, be the most prepared. So that mentality actually helped me. So that's what happened. But it was one of those things again. It's just things my guardian angel was like, you know what? Let's have this person call you.
Well, it's a great example. We hear it a lot of it's not just who you know, but it's who knows you. And
Definitely.
the punchline to that is, go out and build your network. Okay. You had some natural connections there from your time as an athlete, but go out and build your network. I love it. Let's go and take another break, but we are going to come back with more. Our guest today is Toni West. She's the assistant principal at Moreau Catholic High School. We're going to hear all about Moreau in our next segment, so please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thank you to our good friends at Snap Mobile, particularly Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and then been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school with our teams and had tremendous success. I know you will too. Um, Go to their platform, snapraise.com. Check out all their other great features. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it, and it's Snap Raise. We also want to thank our friends at Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the different events, or show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to their website and take a look at their interactive touch screen. That's right, touch screen video consoles. You put one of their units, whether it's a floor mount or a wall mount, in your main gym lobby or your main school hallway, it's going to be a magnet for kids, for coaches, how about parents, even teachers and sponsors. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. And we want to thank our good friends at Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team turn you into a social media marketing expert. Whether it's a simple social media post to celebrate a victory or an entire newsletter that's going to showcase all the great things that your department is doing in the community, the team at Gipper will have you up and running in no time. It's professional graphic design made easy. Go to Gipper.com. Don't forget to mention the podcast. That's Gipper.com. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. We've been visiting so far with Toni West. Toni, tremendous background so far. I'm curious, how did you end up at Moreau Catholic? And tell us a little bit about your school.
All right. Well, I ended up at Moreau Catholic. How life has put me everywhere else. It was a phone call. The boys coach been here a while. He has been here a while. And he called me when I finished up working at UC Riverside and I came back home and I actually started my own company to help student athletes. So I contacted him and was like, I started this company. Is to make sure that athletes know the academic requirements for each different level. There was a lot of changes happening at the NCAA level, and I wanted to make sure that everybody was informed. He said, "Thank you for the information," and then said, we have an opening for a coaching position at Moreau. And I was like, okay, well, did you hear all the words that just came out of my mouth? and we parted ways. And then a little bit later, he sent me a message and was like, no, really, I would love for you just to send in your resume so they could see your resume and what we can possibly get as a coach. And I sent it in, and probably 3 or 4 hours later, the athletic director reached out and asked for me to come on campus. And right after interviewing with a couple of people and walking around campus, it just felt like home. So I started here. That's how I ended up here. I coached the varsity team for 3 years. And then one of our former principals was like, well, I think you have more that you can give to our campus. So have you ever thought about going into a leadership position? And I was like, well, no, not really, because Toni, just like young Toni, never really had a plan, just moving along. And that led me on the pathway to become an assistant principal. So
Now, typical, private school where I spent most of my career here in Florida, um, they frequently, you do a good job at something, and they say, well, hey, you'd be good at this. And they add it to your plate instead of, having you switch. So I'm assuming that, you're no longer coaching, but was that a tough give for you to walk away from coaching?
it was really, really hard. Had an amazing team of just fighters. We were undersized, and they still came up every day and would match my intensity level. They had to play against giants, and we would still make it to NCS and all that stuff. So I had to battle back and forth. And at that time, there was a football player that was graduating. And just by chance, he came into, we had office hours. And I was having my office hours where kids could come in, study. And it was a group of them that were asking me specific questions on how to get to the collegiate level academically. And he just mentioned, and I'm sure he didn't mean anything by it, but he was like, it's not fair that you coach girls basketball and they're the only people that really have access and they get all the help, but the school needs your help. And I thought it was pretty profound that a 17-year-old was saying that to me. So I took it as that might be a hint that I could help the school in a much deeper way. So that helped me make that decision. But it was really, really hard leaving such a wonderful group of girls.
Oh yeah, boy. And again, very insightful on his part. Um, Share with our listeners a little bit about Moreau Catholic. How many students? What grade levels? Some of the programs, and again, what's something that you are particularly proud of what you bring to the program?
So here at Moreau, we are nestled in a busy city. Hayward is pretty big, so we have a whole bunch of competing high schools. So we're on one of the smaller sizes, and we have 800 students. Our demographic is extremely diverse in every category, socioeconomical, actually religious as well. We're a Catholic school, but we have tons of diversity in thought. And I think that is what drives a lot of who we are, is making sure that when students come here, that you can do almost any and everything. So you might come in and you go, I'm a football player, but you're going to have options to try out everything else that you might like. So you might end up graduating as a football player and being part of the band, are, and I think that's one of the things that I'm really proud of is how um, talented, how multi-talented our students are. They are able to find a lane where they find passion and purpose, but also fulfill that in multiple ways. We do TEDx talks, and I think our student athletes end up giving some of the most profound TED Talks, talking about their experience in their sport from their lens, but also being able to be a leader on our campus and then comfortable enough to share that story in a TED Talk environment is amazing. So there's a lot of things to be proud of. Our football team just won state, their division. So that happened this year. But we also have one of our golfers doing an amazing job. We have a badminton player that's seventh in state. And again, they do their sport, but they're also leading in student government or, helping in the city of Hayward. So I just love how involved everybody is in multiple ways. Almost to your point, once a Catholic school finds out you're good at something, here, do a couple more things.
No, it's very true. Um, as you've made the move, I used to say going from coaching to being an AD, you go to the other side of the desk. As you leave athletic administration and go to the dark side, the assistant principal role. Uh, have you been able to, continue to work as part of your job, helping the student athletes find that next level fit?
Yeah, my full title, which is way too long to say all the time, is Assistant Principal of Climate and Culture. And I love that I get to be almost adjacent to anything and everything that strengthens our culture as a school, but also anything that needs to be shaped or formed in a way that we are still reflecting who we are as Moreau Catholic, but also giving the tools and the resources for everybody to get what they need. So I get to be, I call it athletic adjacent, which means I get to share my experience in education, whether that is announcing a girls' basketball game or volleyball playoffs, or going in and going to a coaches clinic and speaking to coaches. So I'm lucky that I get to still do that part of the job. I think that's what fuels me, talking to student athletes, talking to their parents about the journey, helping our counselors and guiding our athletes. I get to be involved with all of that, but also safety and security of everybody else and mental wellness for all of our students. So yeah, I'm quite blessed. And of course, coaching and athletics helps in all of that.
You
It also
know,
helps leading other teachers as well. When you get into coaching and how you get your team together and getting everybody on the same page in that shared purpose, it's one of the natural talents that coaches have to do in order to be successful.
right, right. I don't want to get into the toolbox segment too early, but how is it for you? You're a coach, very successful athlete, athletic director. Um, how do you approach the AD or a coach if you see something and you just know, gosh, this isn't the way I did it, or I think we could do this better. Not that it's wrong, it's just different. How do you handle that? Because I think that's something that any AD, has to work with. When do I say something? When do I just say, hey, they're in charge? They're not hurting anybody. Just let them do it that way.
Yeah, I think the main part is something that you just ended saying. They're not hurting anybody. And I think that's probably the biggest thing is the harm that might be happening will dictate when I have to say something. But I also think I'm blessed. My principal, and oh my gosh, she's gonna hate that I say this. She's the most modest person ever, and she's one of the most amazing people to me. But I work for Colleen Galloway, who is a Hall of Famer at Cal Berkeley, literally jersey number retired and in the Raptors. She was the first female athlete to actually get a scholarship at Cal when Title IX was in place. So to have a leader of a school that understands me as an athlete, understands coaching, development, but also whenever you are coaching our athletic director, the first thing you do is you come in with your philosophy. What is the philosophy of my program? And that's going to guide everything. As a school, we're guided by our mission, but you almost have that same philosophy. So when I go in and talk to coaches when we're onboarding at the beginning of the year, we go over all of that. So it's easier for us to say, hey, and the only time I'm going to come see you about something is if you go against any of these values, our mission, and all that stuff. As long as you're doing what you're supposed to do, though, we're going to come and cheer for you. And that's when you want to see me. You want to see me when you don't have to see me, which is, but um, but it is kind of hard when you're seeing something and it might not be harmful, but you've been experienced enough where you're like, this is where prevention happens. So just pulling them aside and going, this is out of support. This is because I love what you're doing with your program and I want to support you. But I'm starting to notice a couple of things. And here's a few choices that you can make in order to prevent this outcome. Now, if this still happens, I will come and support you and we could talk together. But wouldn't you rather not have me have to come?
Right. No, and that's a great approach. You know, if I would see, and again, I was the AD, if I saw something, and usually it's like maybe in a practice, you'd walk in the gym and coach is just, reaming a kid out for something. Maybe it was during a timeout basketball game. I would always just try, hey, I saw you talking to, Johnny or Susie the other day. What was that all about? Just, hey, I'm curious. And then just kind of find out where they were at and what had happened, what precipitated it. And said, and if it was during a game, um, I would usually say something like, well, hey, maybe next time, have your assistant coach go talk to them while you talk to the team. And that way, the point's getting across and you can stay focused and just, you try to find that right way to again, like you said, help them out. We're going to do this at the end of the podcast, but I want to do it right now. If one of our listeners wanted to reach out and pick your brain a little bit, find out how you do things at Moreau Catholic as a leader, or just add you to their network. We already talked about the importance of building your network. What's the best way our listeners can get in touch and connect with Toni West?
I would say my LinkedIn at Toni West is probably a really good place to start. They can always message me there. Um, I'm at twest at moreaucatholic.org if they want to email me directly. That is also a really good way to contact me. I am one of those people that have the emails and my all the apps on. I try to, you try to go, okay, get off of IG for a second, but it's always there. So they can reach me.
Please tell me you're not a TikToker. Okay. Yeah.
I actually do not have TikTok.
All right. Okay.
I
So
read all
we're
of
there.
I read all of the fine print.
That's a topic for another podcast.
Exactly.
Let's go and take another quick break, but we are coming back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thank you to our great friends at Home Campus. Home Campus is one of those platforms that you're going to use every day. It's the official high school sports administration software platform for a number of states, for thousands of ADs. And even if your state has a different platform, you can still be a home campus school. For me, the athletic eligibility and clearance section alone is a game changer. You truly have to see it to believe it. For more information, just go to homecampus.com. That's it, homecampus.com. We want to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's from the Ohio program, but my assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others, and it was a great experience. It's very affordable, just 20 months, totally online. And while you're completing your master's degree, you're also completing 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. And we want to say thanks to our good friends at Hometown. Hometown is truly changing the game for schools and organizations with their suite of solutions that includes things like, well, big surprise, digital ticketing. They're still the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. But how about fee-free fundraising, athletic website construction? The list just goes on and on. Whether you're an athletic director, a school principal, even a head coach, Hometown makes it easy for you and your organization to save time, to raise more money, and to bring your entire community together. Go to hometown.com for more information. And as always, don't forget to mention the podcast. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest is Toni West. She's the assistant principal at Moreau Catholic High School, longtime AD, longtime coach. She speaks the language of athletics and athletic directors. Toni, you and I were talking during the break. For this segment, I'd like you to share I guess, the gist, if you will, of what got you on this podcast. Our mutual friend, Joanna Butcher, heard you speak at a conference on this particular subject, and it's perfect for our audience, which includes athletic directors, both young and old. So, what can you share with our listeners in this particular segment?
Oh, I would love to share. So she heard me speaking about mental wellness using social emotional learning competencies in order to build perseverance in student athletes. And it was one of the topics that the ADs seemed more interested in learning because there is a shift that's happening in our society that basically started to build up more after COVID, where we came out of COVID and everybody was worried about how the students are reacting, being a little bit more patient with our students' learning, and that trickled into our student athletes. It's really hard to go from 0 to 100, especially when people had tons of time off, and everybody had COVID fatigue. So now we're going back to going into our sports, and we have athletes that are like, I don't want to go as hard in this. Um, why are you yelling at me exactly? Uh, I I want to balance this off. Are my favorite. I'm feeling a little stressed. I need a mental health day. And I remember the first time I started hearing young people say that, I thought back to my mom when I was young, and I used to go home and go, I'm so tired. And my mom would be like, girl, you don't even know what tired is. True, though, I did not know. Working, having bills, dealing with life and all those, it is a whole different tired than your body being physically tired. So, moving into this assistant principal job where I'm over mental wellness and the culture and the SEL of our students helped me change my mentality and how I talk to all students, but particularly student athletes. I was not the softest coach. I was raised with a father that was in the Air Force. So my stepfather was in the Air Force. My biological dad was Army. So military was really, really defined and I would go into practices. I used to love saying breakdown. When I say breakdown, everybody get in defensive stance, stay in defensive stance until I finish my direction, break, run there. You have 5 seconds to get in your places. Really efficient. There was reasons why. But when I got into the SEL and talking to teachers on how to identify what your student needs and when they need it, the parallels of what needs to happen with coaches started being obvious. There are times when our student athletes need to be tough. They're going through something and they need to build perseverance, and you could coach them in their toughness. And there's sometimes where we need to identify when our teacher, when our students and student athletes are having a mental health crisis and they need counseling. And I think that's the thing that never happened when we were being coached and when our coaches were being coached, the ability to identify the difference. Because if you start coaching toughness to a student athlete who needs counseling, we then are doing more harm to that student athlete. So that is the reason why I chose that topic to talk to the athletic directors. And I was really glad there were so many people that understood the message wasn't to just be soft to kids and give them days off, but more about how do we identify what our student needs at that time so we can provide what they need in order for them to grow within their perseverance, but also within their sport and within their studies, because you can't just say, I'm tired, and then not do the thing. That's unrealistic.
And I love how first of all, you're absolutely right. Okay. We figured out, hopefully a long time ago, we can't coach like we were coached, no matter how much we might want to do that. Um, but yeah, kids today are different. It's not right, wrong, good or bad. It's just they're different, and mostly because parents are raising kids differently. If I came home from practice, I'm going to guess this was the same for you, and I'm a lot older than you. If I came home from practice and I said, "Oh, the coach yelled at me today," it probably wouldn't have been a blip on my dad's or my mom's radar. And if it was, well, what'd you do? Better not do that again,
Mhm.
or do what the coach wants. I mean, that's just how it was. And now, uh, again, right, wrong, good or bad, parents are so quick to, rush to their child's defense. And I talk about this a lot. They would just, many of them, not all, many, they just want to remove all obstacles, uh,
Yeah.
remove all possibility of failure, not realizing that that's how we get better, especially in sports, but in life too. We try something, we fall down. The coach is there to help get us back up. Um, and I guess how they do that is the crux of the matter. And you bring up I'm two things, and I'm going to shut up. You bring up the idea of, okay, when do they need, the toughness? When do they need some helping, something else? But I love how you actually use the word tough. It wasn't resilient or perseverance. They're great words, but for me, you guess I'm coming across old school. That we got to teach these kids how to be tough. Oh, here's the other point. I lied. Uh, so many parents today, not all, but many, they didn't play sports
Yeah.
when they were in school. And so they just don't have that experience. They just don't understand. Okay, I'm going to shut up. Okay, Toni, was I right? Was I wrong? Do I need to come and take one of your classes?
You are absolutely right. And I start off when I'm talking to coaches, defining the difference between resilience and perseverance. I specifically do not use the term resilience because when you look up the definition, it talks about having some type of actual harm or um, hurt. There's something that has happened to you that takes an emotional or physical toll to your body or mental. in order for you to have to be resilient through that thing. As coaches, we do not want to build resilience because that means we would have to be giving them extreme harm in order to build that. Yeah, we don't want that on our conscience that we actually harm somebody so much that we then have to help them walk through resilience. And that's when a student or student athlete would need counseling. When you think about all the hurt and harm that can happen to a student, we don't want to deal with that, nor have we been educated in order to do so. But what we are educated to do is to build toughness, is to build that perseverance when your effort has to be increased because you are now past your comfort level. You are now going into something you don't know how to do, and it will feel way more comfortable to stop than to actually go through what you said, the failure part, in order to grow in that area. Um, I could take two examples, one on court, somebody who's right-handed learning to use their left hand. I would much rather not fail in front of everybody using my left hand. We have to teach them, you know what? We have to build this. It is okay to not know how to do this. If you do it enough times, you'll get there. Build your self-efficacy. You'll get there. That's actually building toughness. Now, as coaches, in order for us to then take it up a step, to do that perseverance and toughness, once we know you can dribble with your left, now we might add in a pad. You might get bumped. So then when you get bumped, you don't lose control of the ball. That literally is how life happens. Whether you're learning to drive, whether you're in Spanish class, and yeah, you feel comfortable going, "Hola, me llamo Toni," but right when right when it's a little bit harder and a little bit new, you don't want to fail in front of people. You're going to have to learn how to put extra effort in the area that you are not comfortable in. So teaching effort and teaching what that looks like, helping kids understand the difference between their effort level, and that usually we can see it as adults, but you don't get a bypass on not giving effort because it's uncomfortable. That is where toughness gets built. Go out there and be okay giving 100% effort and do it and fail and do it wrong until you do it enough that you don't do it wrong anymore. Um, and that's the part of communicating, especially to those parents that didn't play, trying to figure out in a way that they can understand what we're doing and apply to something that they had to do before. Um, Having those conversations and an effective communication prior to them going onto the floor, so then that parents know, when I tell your kid this, it is because this, and this. And in order for your student to succeed, we have to be partners in this. So trust that I want the best for your student. And let's use the same terminology so that when you go home and it may be something else, you're teaching them how to cook. We're using the same words so they understand, oh, this is how I grow in my efficacy no matter what I'm doing. And then it becomes a skill that they have no matter what.
Right. Again, you probably saw me scribbling down notes there. We got to coach the parents, while we are
Yes.
also coaching the kids. Um, we're definitely bringing you back. This is going to be your first segment on Wednesday Wisdom. Um, this has just been tremendous getting to know you, and I'm telling you the truth. We are going to bring you back. But it's time to go to our final segment, which is the athletic director's toolbox. Now, you're no longer an AD, but as we've said, you speak the language of athletic directors. We're going to take our final break, hear from Athletic Surveys, who sponsor this segment. When we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director. We could even say a brand new coach on their very first job. but we're only going to let you put 3 items in the toolbox. So let's take
Okay.
that break. And when we come back, we're going to see what Toni West puts in her new athletic director toolbox. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. You know, at my school, we use surveys for everything, for student athletes, for coaches, for teachers. We even did it for parents. And the information that would come back was almost always over the top positive. But we also did hear from those squeaky wheel parents that we were already hearing from. But it gave them a chance to share, gave us a chance to listen to their concerns, and usually keep a small issue from turning into something big. But having all of that positive data, all that positive feedback was incredibly valuable, especially when we were visiting with one of those frustrated parents, or maybe our principal, or even the school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. And don't forget to mention the podcast. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Toni West. Has an incredible background as an athlete, as a coach, and as an athletic director. But right now, I'm going to challenge her to send out a brand new AD on their first job, but I'm only going to let her put 3 items in the toolbox. So, Toni, what 3 tools are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
All right. Well, the first one is going to be effective communication. I think that is probably overlooked. A lot of people say communication, but effective, being able to reach every stakeholder that you're going to be in contact with and do it in a way that they receive your message and feel comfortable giving feedback will be huge. So that is my first one, effective communication. My second one is joy. You have to have a state of being, which is joy. You get to pour into young people, and everybody doesn't get to have that and then see the fruit of their labor. So, even with the hard, which it's going to always be hard, if you can't tap into a consistent state of joy and happiness and being able to look for those areas where you could smile and more importantly make other people smile, it's going to be a hard job. So keep joy with you. And then the last one, want to know. Just want to know everything. And that's a little bit more than knowing where to look up information, but want to know for yourself. So understand your school, what your school means to the people, what your mission is, and then know all the things that you can create and build that furthers the mission for your school. And more importantly, want to know how to help every stakeholder that you will get in contact with. So those are my 3: effective communication, joy, and the want to know.
I love them all. And listening to you for this, last almost an hour, not surprised at all. The effective communication. A lot of people do say communication is part of their toolbox, but you added effective, and I love that. Uh, the the joy. Okay, a lot of people say, find humor or have fun, but joy, that takes it to another level. And we do have, fun, I think, joy inducing jobs as athletic directors. And your last one, want to know. Many times people will say, be a lifelong learner, which is important. But
Mhm.
you talked about knowing your school, knowing your culture. Very cool stuff. Wow, it's easy to see why Joanna recommended you, and why I'm hoping you're going to come back on our podcast again. Toni, one more time, if one of our listeners wants to reach out, pick your brain a little bit, and listeners, you have a tremendous resource here. What's the best way that they can connect with you?
I'm Toni West at LinkedIn, and it is Toni. It is a nickname for a much longer name that I'll tell you the next time I'm on here. But yes, Toni West on LinkedIn, or you can reach me at twest at moreaucatholic.org, which is my high school email address that I check all the time. But yes, thank you so much for having me. This is amazing.
Oh, well, you are very kind. Thank you for sharing with our listeners and all the best. Hopefully, you'll get some downtime this summer, get a little summer vacation in.
I will not. I'm summer school principal, but thank you for the wishes for me. Thank you.
You call up Joanne. You two go out. Have a good time. Tell them Jake said to do that.
Okay.
For our listeners, we want to say thanks to you and remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Education Lady Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day, try to share stories and best practices from the world of athletics. So please come back and join us again on the next episode of the Education Lady Podcast.